Boston Celtics lose at home again, this time to the Indiana Pacers. The problem, again, their defense, but the fix is simple. We'll talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts on the weekend. So make sure you're subscribed wherever podcasts exist. Watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section, have some fun there with your fellow Celtics fans. If you can have fun after the Boston Celtics losing to the Indiana Pacers, but I'll be talking about it all right now because that's my job. I'm John Karalis. I've been covering the Celtics for almost 20 years, doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Welcome aboard this journey. I would love it if you shared the podcast. Sharing the podcast really helps me out. Obviously, rating and reviewing and all of that stuff, so people can discover the show and we can build up this audience. It's going to be tough to build this audience considering the Celtics, just the way they continue to be inconsistent. This is an inconsistent group right now. They do not play up to their capability all the time. This was one of the things that we were worried about over the summer, right? This was when we talked about concerns or storylines, potential storylines coming up here over the summer. We said complacency, the championship, we call it championship hangover, whatever it is. What kind of impact would winning the championship have on the Boston Celtics? What would winning a title do to their motivation? As I've said, a hungry man, a starving man is going to fight you for a scrap of food, but somebody who's just eaten isn't going to fight you for it. Someone who's, fat and happy isn't going to be fighting for scraps of food, but a team like the Indiana Pacers is going to come in here and fight for scraps because not only were they embarrassed the other day, they want to test themselves against the best, and the Celtics are the best. The Celtics are the champions. And as I said in the last podcast, the Celtics needed to flush that game. They needed to flush that win, take from it the positives, that the full effort, the full defensive effort, that they needed to take that and apply it to this game. I said after that last game that the Pacers are going to come out stronger. They're going to have Andrew Nembhard, which they did, and he helped. They're going to have they're going to have a more they're going to be more rested because they didn't have the back-to-back, which they played against OKC on Thursday. So they played OKC on Thursday, a big, tough game against the team that they want to measure themselves against. They come to Boston, they lay an egg. Then they stayed in Boston. They stewed about it. They sit around listening to everybody on Friday talk about, and on Saturday talk about how great the Celtics are. And they're walking around town just kind of like stewing. So, of course, Sunday they were going to come in here with a better effort, and they did. And the Celtics did not have that effort. Very frustrating for them to lose again at home. And I'm the first person to tell everybody, and this is still true, it's nothing to worry about necessarily. It's nothing to sit there and be like, oh my God, are they going to go back to the finals? Like, yeah, I think they're going to go back to the finals. Does this loss mean that they have less of a chance? No, it doesn't. None of this stuff means much towards their future ability to hang another banner. At the same time, it's getting very frustrating and tiring to have to say that. I am getting tired of throwing this caveat into everything I'm saying on a podcast. So like, well, this doesn't mean much in terms of their future and blah, blah, blah. And then have to like look at all of the things that they've done wrong. It's frustrating to sit there and watch. It's frustrating for Boston Celtics fans. I'm here at the Garden. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can see the garden is still lit up behind me. It's full of all of these seats were full of people, and these are people. These are your home fans. These are the Bostonians. These are the fans. I met somebody came up and said hi to me over here from Brazil. Somebody said hi to me from Spain. People are coming in and spending money, lots of money sometimes. Well, actually, lots of money all the time. Because even if you're from, like, if you live across the street in the apartment building across the street, coming over here is still going to be expensive. But you got people traveling from all over the world coming to see the Celtics, and you come out there and you put this effort forward. I'll be the first person to say, like, hey, sometimes a guy's got to rest. So if someone buys 4 tickets and spends hundreds of dollars and whatever to get in here, and there is no Drew Holiday, there is no Kristaps Porzingis, sometimes it's a load management thing. These were, injuries. Drew with the shoulder, Porzingis with the left ankle. But it's still frustrating when the effort is the thing. Like, I get it. Sometimes you got to rest and you can't help where the schedule lands. And I'm sorry to the people who buy the tickets and maybe you get a load management day from somebody, but you should get better effort from these guys. And it is very frustrating for this Celtics team to all of a sudden just not put the full effort into a game. After the game, Jaylen Brown was talking about maybe some comfort has set in, and it's like, there it is. They're admitting that they've been getting a little bit comfortable. The Celtics know what they're capable of. The Celtics know what they are going to be doing. They're not making vacation plans in June. The Pacers are probably safe, right? And I mean this is no disrespect, because the Pacers have always played the Celtics hard. Give the Pacers their due. They came in here, and in one of my bullet points here is that the Pacers brought it. The Pacers came in here like I knew they would, playing hard. And they always play hard, except for this last game. They almost always play hard. But they always play the Celtics, almost always play the Celtics well. You're not going to get back-to-back stinkers from them, generally speaking. They're a well-coached, hard-playing team. So for the Celtics to get comfortable, yeah, of course they're not too worried about it, and the Pacers can probably expect not to make it to the NBA Finals. I mean, if you put Miles Turner in you give him some truth serum and you say, hey, do you feel safe making vacation plans in June? He'd probably be like, yeah. Tyrese Halliburton, probably, yeah. Right? They would never admit that publicly, but come on. The Celtics, you can't. Right? And that's fine. But I don't want to see them have to flip a switch. I compared them on Boston Sports Journal to the 2010 Celtics, but the 2010 Celtics had post-injury KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, all of those guys were older. There is a reason for them to be biding their time. You could kind of tell that there wasn't much time left with this group. And this Celtics team is younger, even though Al Horford is 38 and Drew Holiday's 34. And, there are older guys. This isn't a team that really should be coasting for very long. This is their fight. This is their battle against human nature. They love to talk about human nature. Well, this is it. You have to figure out a way. You have to, whatever trick you have to play with your own mind. Or Joe Mazzulla has to find a trick to play with these guys to get them to play this defense consistently, the way they know how. I know there was no Holiday. I know there was no Porzingis, but there was no Holiday and Porzingis the last game. and they were fine, right? Of course, like I said, the Pacers were complicit, but they have it within them. Last season, they had guys in and out of the lineup too. Maybe they had better injury luck last season, but they had guys in and out all the time. They didn't have their full starting lineup for more than a couple dozen games last year, and they were fine. They came to the games motivated. Where's that motivation? We'll talk about that. Let's talk about the defense in more detail when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has a solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor's visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick 100% online consultation, and you can get your free prescription today. Visit RocketRx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, you can get 40% off your first order when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's RocketRx.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out the new ultimate Locked On Celtics team newsletter. It's available at LockedOnDaily.com. LockedOnDaily.com. You get Celtics, NBA, and fantasy coverage all at LockedOnDaily.com. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo, and you'll get the free daily newsletter delivered to your inbox every Monday through Friday. All right, I moved back into the picture. This is my little way of doing things here at the TD Garden. I love doing the podcast over here. It's a little bit different. It's a little, I have less going on in front of me here, but I'm comfortable here. The Celtics should be comfortable here too, and they're clearly not. Defensively, the Celtics, they just did not perform well defensively. So their defensive rating generally is like at 110. It's still in the top 10 in the NBA, interestingly enough. But their defensive rating in this game was 124.2. That is 5 full points worse than the Utah Jazz season number. They're the worst defense in the NBA. So the Celtics defense in this game, statistically, was 5 full points worse than the worst defense in the league. The Celtics have been relying on their shooting. And when the shooting fails them, this is where they have a problem. And I've said this before. I'll have to say it again because this is the same thing the Celtics are doing right now. This is the same frustrating thing that they've done. They came out in the first quarter and were hot from 3. They were 7 of 16 in the first quarter, right? 7 of 16 in the first quarter. Great. They're feeling great. Second quarter, 3 of 11. Okay, still 10 of 27. They're still like, all right, one bad quarter, not a big deal. The Celtics, as their shooting is, carrying them, they have no inclination to play defense right now. Some games they will put it together, but they have spent the first part of the season, over 30 games or so here, a little more than 30. What is it, 31 now? Their pattern is clear. We're going to rely on our offense. The offense is going to carry us through. The offense is the fun part. The offense is the sexy part. And the defense part is not fun, right? Defense is not sexy. But they will rely on their offense. They will rely on their three-point shooting. They will rely on generating points. They are great at generating points. Even in this game, it was a loss, but they still put up 114 points, which should be plenty. 114 points is enough to win you basketball games. You score 114 points a game, you're going to win a ton of games in the NBA. But when the shooting starts to slip and starts to fail you, you've got to be able to play that defense. And the Celtics, except for like a little stretch in the fourth quarter where they came out and they cut the lead to 2, and I thought this was it. This was going to be the story. And I think the tone of the podcast might have still been the same, but it would have been, hey, look at the Celtics not trying on defense for 3 quarters, and here's them trying on defense. And look at this. They turn it around. They beat the Pacers. But no, instead of beating the Pacers, they cut it to 2, and then Pacers, boom, 13-0 run. Credit to the Pacers there, by the way. Incredible response. That was a point where the Pacers could have wilted. The Celtics were starting to march, and they answered. They didn't give in, and they did enough to not only hold them off, but they ended up winning the quarter by 2 points. So the Celtics gave up a monster second quarter to the Pacers. That's where they really did their damage. They gave up 38 points in the second quarter, 33 in the third. In the fourth, they started to play some defense. Like I said, in the beginning of the quarter, they had a 25-point quarter, but they only put up 23 because the Celtics shot 1 of 12 from 3 in the fourth quarter. Everybody to a man after the game knew what was going on. Everybody to a man could tell you that, like, oh yeah, we got to clean up the defense. We've got to be better. We got to pay attention, better communication, not leaving guys out on an island. Jaylen talked about, we didn't know where we were helping from, which how can you not know where you were helping from? This isn't slippage. This is not defensive slippage. This is not, oh man, I know what to do. I just kind of like have not practiced it enough and I just forgot. No, that's not what this is. They are not trying hard enough. And then they fouled a ton in this game. I asked Joe Mazzulla about this afterwards, and he said, no, we're trying to be more aggressive and all of that. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm going to have to go look at it again. I don't think this was the Celtics fouling because they were being aggressive. The Celtics fouled a ton. And you can say, look, some of those ticky-tack fouls, maybe, that's fine. But they were still being called. I think that the fouls by the Celtics was less being aggressive, and it was just more they were late. They weren't trying hard enough defensively to do what they needed to do, and so they ended up being late, and they ended up fouling. They ended up putting themselves in position to be a little too, defending with your hands. You get beat, you defend with your hands. You know what I mean? Like, instead of sliding in front of a guy, putting your chest in front of a guy and having him like you're cutting him off, you get beat and you're trying to hold him off with your hands. And you'd be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. It's a foul that maybe other teams get away with. Maybe even the Pacers got away with it a little bit. But the point is, you didn't, and it is a foul. It is a foul. The Celtics could not defend without fouling. And this, to me, was a symptom of bad defense, was a symptom of them not putting in the effort to get their body in front of the man, to not slide. Joe Mazzulla had to go to a zone. He does not like to play zone a lot, but he had to, and it didn't work, but he had to because of what the Celtics were doing, not doing defensively. And I want to stop with this at this point because we're 20 minutes into the show. And I feel like I've said the same thing a lot. But the bottom line is the effort is not there. It's not an execution thing necessarily. It's not a scheme thing. And Joe, after the game, to his credit, said the coaches need to coach it better and all that other stuff. And that's fine. Everybody's responsible. But the Celtics cannot just rely on their offense to carry them through these games because it's starting to slip away from them. We're heading into January this week. January is a tough month. They got a lot of road games. They got 2 West Coast swings. Maybe this will be good. Maybe the West Coast trips or Western Conference trips will be good because they have to lock in. They only have themselves. They don't have the comforts of home. maybe they did get a little too comfortable. Maybe they need a little adversity. Maybe this is something that they need to kind of wake them up. Joe Mazzulla said on this podcast over the summer, I hope we see the red dot on our forehead. There's a reason why he said that, because he needs his team to feel the threat. And if they don't feel the threat, they're not going to play like they've been threatened. And last season, they did play like that. This season, they're not. By and large, they are not. They have to go out and put forth the effort in the right places. That's a key element. They have to put the effort in the right places so they can succeed. That's it. It's on them. They have the choice. They have the choice. And they're still in a great spot. And maybe we're getting close to, maybe they won't get the number 1 seed this year. It's a thought that's just starting to creep in after this little stretch here in December, considering that the Cavs are still playing great. I didn't see if they played in this. I didn't see what the results were here, but the Celtics are still slipping a little bit here. Maybe they don't care, but I think they owe it. They owe it a little bit to the fans here to put forth a better effort. They owe it to themselves to put themselves in a better position and start building those habits. I would rather have guys take an extra day off because they are sore from playing defense than play every game like the way they played against the Pacers. And I don't think I'm alone. Let's get a little bit into the individual performances. Jaylen Brown was good. A couple of guys were okay. We'll talk about all of that in just a second. Whoops, wrong button there. Let's. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Please go check out Locked On NBA, which I host on Fridays. Locked On NBA Game Night with Jake Madison. It's a fun show covering all the games. It's 7 days a week now. We have Locked On NBA during the day, middle of the day. It's more of a debate show style. So 2 podcasts on the Locked On NBA feed. Go check them out. Jaylen Brown, 31 points, 13 of 21 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3. 6 assists, a steal. He was pretty good in this game. 12 points in the first quarter. When the Celtics came out, it was clear that the Pacers went on a 12-4 run, 12-5 run at the beginning of the game. Jaylen is the one who kind of finished the quarter strong. He was part of that run in the fourth quarter where the Pacers, where the Celtics closed within 2 before the Pacers took off. So Jaylen Brown was generally pretty good in this game. Obviously made some mistakes, obviously got beat defensively, so I'm not going to give him the full pass, but offensively, he was once again the catalyst. Jaylen loves playing against the Pacers. If you're on FanDuel or something and you see Jaylen Brown against the Pacers, maybe you want to take the over on his points because he's 31 in this game. So he performs well against the Pacers. Generally, Jaylen was really good in this one. Jayson could not hit a shot. He hit 2 3-pointers in the third quarter. Because he didn't hit. The Celtics were 1 for 11, 1 for 12 in the 1 for 12 in the fourth quarter, which is god awful, just absolutely god awful. And why you need to make sure that your defense is on point, because you can rely on your shooting to get you through certain spots, but that shooting has a tendency to go away for stretches. And if you're not playing that defense and your shooting starts to fail you, then you look like this. And so Tatum was 2 of 10 from 3. Al Horford was 1 of 10 from 3. So 3 of 20 from those guys. Obviously, it's not going to that's not going to cut it. That's what? 15%. Is that right? Whatever it is bad. Al got a lot of good looks. I'm not even too worried about Al. He's going to hit those. I thought just about all of them. In fact, there were probably 2 or 3 shots that he didn't take. I know I sound like Joe Mazzulla now, but there are probably 2 or 3 shots that he didn't take where I thought his confidence might have wavered that he needs to take. But by and large, I'm okay with the shots that Horford got. Tatum might have rushed a couple, and he said after the game in retrospect there were probably a couple that you could have driven instead of shot. I think he was at that point trying to pull the Celtics, closer and was relying on the three. But they're still trying to find the line of generating the good threes and settling or relying too much on the three. The Celtics had plenty of time in this game to drive and draw fouls. In the beginning of that fourth quarter, they did drive, get the and one. That's how the Celtics were able to kind of close some of that gap. It's there. You can still put up 3 points per play if you're driving and getting, the and ones. And if it's there, then take it. I will say this about the Celtics offense every day of the week. Their offense is not a 3-point offense. Their offense is a drive, draw the defense, and then find the best play, the best opportunity out of that. You're supposed to create advantages offensively. And if that creates an advantage, a 2-on-1 where there's nobody at the rim, then take it all the way in. That's the right play. It's not always designed to just create 3-pointers. If it creates open layups, open dunks, you take those and you love that you get those. But very often that collapses the defense and it leads to kickouts. So I think they still get away from the making the read part. And I'm hoping that as we get into January that they don't get away from making those reads. This is the doldrums part of the schedule. I'm hoping that the time off in December has maybe eliminated some of that January swoon, that January doldrums that everybody talks about. I hope that it has, because I don't want to see that, but that's a risk. And I think the Celtics offense need to make sure that they're running their stuff so they can drive, create the advantages, and make the reads from there. It was good to see Sam Hauser hit a few shots. He was 3 of 6 from 3. He had 3 assists. He I think generally played pretty well. Payton Pritchard, 7 of 13, 5 of 8 from 3. Good to see him get some 3-pointers to fall. He had a real rough stretch shooting wise over a few games, so it's good to see him go that 5 of 8. But man, I would trade a couple of those 3-pointers to have those 2 possessions back in the fourth quarter where he just turned the ball over. I don't know what was going on there, but he had 2 really bad turnovers in the fourth quarter that helped kind of crush the momentum. So for all of the good stuff that Payton Pritchard did, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He had another offensive rebound. He, only had those 2 turnovers, but they were the worst timed live ball turnovers that you could get. And he was only a -2. That stretch that he was in there in the fourth quarter was where a big positive went down to the negative. So for all of the good numbers here, Pritchard's kind of like late mistakes crushed the Celtics. But I don't want to put it on just Pritchard, because it was everybody. It was everybody and their lack of defense. But credit to the Pacers, man. They make it tough. They are tough. Halliburton was good. I have a hard time believing that Andrew Nembhard is that much of a thorn in Boston's side. I do not want to put Nembhard on the Celtics, the Celtics killer team. But, man, he's really making a case for it, because he's the guy. When the Celtics were playing the Pacers and they had to fight, it was the hardest series, even though it was a sweep, and he was talking about people are turning into Michael Jordan out there. Like, he's one of the guys that they were talking about. I'm tired of watching Nembhard kill the Celtics, but we got the one really good Tyrese Halliburton. I said that Halliburton has one killer reminder that he was a burgeoning superstar last year. He has one of those a month now, where he used to have them like every day. And we got the good one here. 11 of 19 shooting for him, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 31 points, a plus 13. It was an incredible Tyrese Halliburton game. You knew that he was going to come with one of those, and he did. So, hey, it's what happens. It's fine. Ultimately, it's standing wise, whatever. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I'm not down on the Celtics, but I am frustrated by them because this effort was defensively was garbage. And they need to be better than that. We're getting to a point now where it's starting to get really tiring. And I said it from the beginning of the season, like, the Celtics have a few defensive issues. And I remember bringing it up to Joe Mazzulla at a practice, and he was like, well, we're number one in this, and we're number one in that. And, he was joking around like, how can you get better than number one? And here we are where those issues have started to cascade. So I've been on this from the beginning that the Celtics defense isn't where it needs to be, and it continues to trickle downward. They got to turn this around. They've got to turn this around soon so they can start building those good habits, the good defensive habits. So we're not talking about this in January and February, All-Star break. I do not want to make this part of my All-Star break. So, but whatever happens, I'll be talking about it. I'm on top of it. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section and share your thoughts about what you've seen. And I would love it if you share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.